The air in the rock shelter is thick with the scent of pine smoke, sweat, and blood. The clan huddles, their faces illuminated by the flickering hearth, a constellation of anxious eyes fixed on the birthing mother. She groans. A low, guttural sound that is part of the cave's own language, a sound of immense effort. This is a sacred and hopeful moment in the long, slow story of human evolution. The promise of a new hunter, a new voice, another link in the fragile chain of survival for these ancient humans. The midwife, an old woman with hands like tangled roots, works with practiced efficiency. There is a final, ragged cry from the mother, and then a new one, thin and sharp, joins it. I guess, not of joy but of sharp, collective shock, cuts through the smoky air. The midwife holds the newborn up, and the firelight reveals the source of their terror. The child is wrong. Its skin is the color of bleached bone. Its hair a shock of white like the winter's first frost. When its eyes flutter open, they are not the familiar deep brown of its people but a pale, unnerving red that seems to look through them, not at them. Silence descends, heavy and absolute. The fire crackles, indifferent to the dread it illuminates. This is something outside their experience, a violation of the known world. The elder rises, his movements slow, deliberate. He is the keeper of their history, the interpreter of signs. He studies the infant, his face an unreadable mask of weathered skin. He sees not a child, but an omen, a ghost spirit given flesh, in a life governed by the language of the natural world. The flight of birds, the shape of clouds, the entrails of a kill. This is the most terrifying sign of all. He does not need to speak the verdict. It is understood in the tightening of his jaw, the slight, decisive turn of his head. The community, a single living organism, closes ranks to protect itself from a perceived poison. The social bond is severed before it can even form. The mother reaches for the child, the raw, animal instinct, but her arms are held back. A tear carves a clean path through the grime on her cheek. She sees her baby, not a monster, in a final, desperate moment of quiet defiance. She dips a finger into a small leather pouch at her waist, smearing a daub of reed ochre on the infant's forehead. A prayer, a name, a goodbye. A flicker of humanity in the face of rigid superstition. One of the younger men, his face set like flint, takes the swaddled infant. He moves past the silent figures, out of the warmth and delight, into the immense, howling darkness of the Pleistocene night. The wind drips at the thin high blanket. He walks 100 paces from the cave mouth to a slab of granite swept bare by the gale. He places the small bundle down. He does not linger. He does not look back. The infant's cry is a thin, reedy sound, instantly stolen by the wind. The cold begins its work immediately. The first stage of hypothermia is a silent, creeping numbness, a gentle lie before the end. The ghost has been returned to the wilderness. But the cold does not claim its prize. The infant's cries, though sin, travel on the wind, a distress signal in a language older than words. They reach the ears of a lone she-wolf. Her own pups lost to a cave lion weeks prior. She approaches the stone slab, not with the predatory drive of a hunter, but with a ghost of maternal instinct. She circles the bundle, sniffs the strange, pale creature for a few crucial hours. Driven by a warmth she no longer has a use for, she curls her shaggy body around the infant, a living shield against the fatal wind. As the first hint of grey light touches the horizon, she is gone, leaving behind a small patch of melted snow and a child who should be dead. Years pass. The world remains a canvas of white and grey. The outcast, no longer an infant but a wary, silent child, endures. Survival is a brutal teacher with a single lesson: adapt or perish. This is the unforgiving reality of prehistoric life. The outcast learns by watching. Watches the Arctic fox plunge its head into the snow to snatch a lemming. Watches the wolverine crack bones for their marrow. Watches the ptarmigan molt, its feathers changing from brown to white with the seasons. Every day is a classroom of desperate observation, the curriculum written in tracks and blood. The outcast's first tools are a scavenger's inheritance, the femur of a reindeer for digging roots, a sharp-edged drop pried from a frozen riverbed. Learning to knap flint is a process of bleeding fingers and shattered stones, a slow, agonizing mastery of primitive technology. Loneliness is a physical presence, a constant companion as real as the hunger gnawing at the belly. There are no words, no shared warmth, only the vast, indifferent silence of the ice-bound world. The outcast's own reflection in the meltwater pool is a startling, alien sight. The pale skin, the white hair, the curse. But one day, stalking a snow hare, the outcast freezes as the creature does. The hare, a knot of trembling muscle, is looking right through them, its black eyes seeing only the snowbank behind. In that moment of shared stillness, a profound realization dawns. The curse is camouflage. The ghost skin that brought exile is a hunter's greatest gift. This changes everything. The outcast begins to move differently, not as a creature in the landscape, but as a piece of it. They craft a better spear, its flint point bound to a straight birch shaft with sinew. Then, a greater innovation, a tool learned perhaps from a fleeting, distant glimpse of other hunters, a memory of a memory. The atlatl, the spear thrower, extends the arm, turns a desperate lunge into a deadly, silent projectile, stalking a lone reindeer against a blizzard's white curtain. The outcast is invisible. The spear, launched with the atlatl's leverage, flies true. It strikes the animal's flank. It is not a clean kill. It is a messy, terrifying struggle, but it is a kill nonetheless. Kneeling in the snow, tearing at the warm meat with stone and teeth, the outcast feels a different kind of warmth spread through their body. It is the heat of life, but with intelligence and silence. The ghost who was left to die now hunts, alone. The outcast is no longer a child but a young adult, lean and hard as the lamb that shaped them. The solitary hunter has become a master of this frozen domain, a living testament to resilience in the story of human ancestors. Their senses are home to a razor's edge, the faint crunch of a hoof on distant snow, the scent of blood on the wind, the subtle shift in pressure that foretells a storm. These are their language, their community. They move through the vast, white world with a spectral grace, a hunter perfectly attuned to the rhythms of the Ice Age. They're pale from a near-mythical advantage in this environment. The curse has become their crown, a unique adaptation in the harsh saga of prehistoric life. One day, from the safety of a high, windswept ridge, a new scent drifts on the air. The familiar, yet alien, smell of wood smoke, peering through a screen of stunted pines. The outcast sees them, a small band of people, perhaps a dozen, making camp in the valley below. They are Homo sapiens, like the ones who cast them out, their dark hair and skin a stark contrast to the snow. The outcast watches for days, an unseen observer on the periphery. They watch the hunters work together to bring down a giant elk, a piece of Pleistocene megafauna too large for any single predator. They watch the women tend the fire, scrape hides, and care for their young. They hear the sounds of laughter, of argument, of shared stories told in guttural tones around the glowing embers. It is a world of warmth, of connection, of touch, a world they have never known. A primal late, a deep, cellular yearning for belonging, rises within the outcast. It is a pain sharper than any winter cold. For a moment, a fantasy takes hold. To walk down the ridge, to reveal themselves, to offer a share of a kill as a token of peace. But the fantasy shatters against the hard rock of memory, the memory of being left on a stone slab, the reflection in the ice, the ghost skin, the pale eyes. They are an omen, a thing to be feared and destroyed. They see a child in the distant camp stumble and fall, and its mother rush to scoop it into her arms, her touch a shield against the world. It is an act of casual, profound love, and in that moment, a hard choice is made. To approach them would be to invite terror. to bring the spectre of the outcast's own story into their lives. The greatest act of connection available to the ghost is to remain a ghost. This is not a choice born of fear, but of a strange, selfless understanding, a form of altruism forged in the crucible of absolute solitude. They are a different kind of human, one whose survival was contingent on the breaking of that fundamental social bond. The outcast turns away from the firelight, from the sounds of a life they will never lead. They melt back into the snow-covered forest, shouldering their atlatl. They are a hunter, a survivor, a solitary legend etched into the ice. Let them tell stories of a pale spirit that hunts the high ridges, a ghost that leaves offerings of meat near a starving traveler's path, or a whisper on the wind that sounds almost like a warning. Their humanity is not found around a communal fire, but in the deliberate, lonely choice to protect that fire from the shadow of their own existence. The ghost on the ridge turns its back on the world of men and walks deeper into the embrace of the snow. The story of the outcast does not end with a triumphant return, but with a silent, deliberate fading. It's a stark reminder that in the grand narrative of hominid history, not every path leads to the warmth of the communal fire. Some stories were written in the margins, in the snow, by individuals whose survival depended on severing the very bonds that define our species. This solitary existence, born of superstition and fear, inadvertently became a crucible for a different kind of strength, a testament to individual intelligence and a will to live that bordered on the supernatural. Their life, a haunting minor key in the symphony of our shared past, challenges our most basic assumptions about what it means to be human. It forces us to ask, how much of our identity is forged by the community that embraces us, and how much is carved out by the wilderness that we must face alone. Their echoes are not in our shared language or our cave art, but in the resilient, unyielding part of the human spirit that can find a way to endure, even when utterly forsaken. We are the stories we choose to witness. What happens when the hunter becomes the hunted?